Welcome! I'm so glad to be able to share with you. We are going to be looking at framework photos right now. What are framework photos? Why are we doing them? And maybe a few examples of what they look like. Let's begin with the why first. First of all, in creating frameworks, we have a framework. Well, let's deal with what a framework is. This is a framework. A framework is a step 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a step-by-step process to be able to get a specific result. In the Army of Youth, we are an education online training program teaching people how to identify their unique talents and dedicate them to Lord's service. In order to do that, there are a lot of trainings and concepts that we need to perfect and to be able to share so that people can get results. Everything that we do, it's not about information. It's not about sharing knowledge. It's about getting people transformations consistently. It's about helping people to get the results in their life at its very core. So nothing that we do, or should I say, everything that we teach is for the purpose of crafting a framework. We're never just sharing information. We are always intentionally designing and creating a framework. It's a step-by-step process to get the same result, kind of like a recipe. Follow the steps, get the cake. Deviate from the steps, you don't get the cake. So this is what we do. So in order to do this, we have a program that we do every month called the Direction from God program. And here we have our online students who join live, and people pay so that they can receive this training on how to find direction from God, how to use their talents for Christ, how to study the Word of God, how to lead others to Jesus. These are in this process, we use the Direction from God program to kind of build out the courses and training programs, the slides and presentations that the Army of Youth does, whether we're speaking at camp meetings or doing guest speaking engagements or doing courses or things. We choose, what we do is we do all hands on deck approach, where once a month we focus on creating one presentation every month so that we can fine tune and perfect these things. And because we are because we are testing to see how we can draw others to understand these concepts, we're choosing one topic, one framework. Every month I give a new framework. I give 4 teaching points, usually 4 to 5. And those teaching points are to get something specific. So this month we're doing it on how to share your testimony. We've done it in the past on 4 steps to change or any painful emotion in 90 seconds or less. That's a framework. That's the result. Changing your painful emotions in 90 seconds or less. So we gave 4 steps. Step number 1. I believe I have it. Yeah, there we go. Step number 1, change your focus. Step number 2, change your words. Step number 3, change your motion. Step number 4, pray for opportunities to practice. So that is a framework, and this is a framework photo. Everything that we do, we're testing these out. And this lies at the foundation of all our teachings and trainings so that people are able to follow them out and carry them out. And within this process, there are oftentimes frameworks within a framework. So when you look at step number 1, there was, you know what, I might be able to pull it up. So step number 1, there was, it says change your focus. How do you change your focus? Well, questions, change your focus. Change your question, change your life. And in this presentation, here it is, we have, here it says change your focus right here, right? Now, these are the questions that you can ask during any painful emotions. So this says that here's 4 steps, but even within each step, there are other steps. So like here, you have the example. These are 4 questions that you can ask yourself. Is this God's thought? No. Is this my thought? No. Then whose thought is this? The enemy. Whose voice do I want to listen to? So these are questions that we can ask. Is this God's thought? Is this my thought? Whose thought is this? And then whose voice do I want to listen to? When you filter all of your thoughts through this process, that is a system. And you see that these photos are already crafted, very chosen. Whose voice do I want to listen to? Whose voice is this? Is this my thought? No. Is this God's thought? No, because we know the Word of God says different. So the photos are all chosen very well from the slides. We're very intentional about choosing the photos behind them and why we do those. So so in this presentation, there could be like 5-6 different frameworks that are identified, even through praying for opportunities, change your emotions, all these different things. They show how you're able to get these different results, because this is a promise. This could be a framework on how to change your focus how to change your focus in 4 questions, whatever the case is. But every single framework has one of those. So the reason why we're doing this is because we are wanting to test our hooks. Everything, it has a hook, it has a story, and it has an offer. So in the presentation here, the hook is steps to change any painful emotion in 90 seconds or less. That's the hook. And then the story is the framework. It's those 4 steps. And then the offer is a call to action at the end, which is like pray for opportunities. We want part of the purpose of this presentation is that we want to help people to pray for trials in their life, trials to practice. And honestly, it's from the slide presentation that you'll get the best hooks from them. I would not use them from outlines specifically, because the slides really give you ideas as far as photos, and they always have the most up-to-date version of the presentation, whereas the outline to this is outdated. Like, the outline says pray for opportunity, and the presentation says pray for trials, because that's what we actually worked with. So when you see this, it says pray for opportunities. That's not what we decided upon, but that's not the fault of the designer. It's just they were going off of an old, outdated outline and not on the slides. So that's something to keep in mind too. Yeah, the reason why we're doing this is we're testing we're testing hooks. The hook is the headline. Every single presentation has it. So you see, here's the hook: 4 reasons why the Bible is so simple a child can understand. You're like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. There's 4 reasons. So that's a hook. Change your painful emotion in 90 seconds or less. They're like, what? I want to do that. That's a hook. And there's like 4 ways to turn your current weakness into your greatest strength. It's like, whoa, I need that. That's a hook. So all these are different examples of hooks. So 5 tips to reclaim your personal devotions. Oh, I need that. So that's a hook. And then the story is step 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the framework that we're teaching. And the training behind that. So what we have to do is we have to test the hooks. All that we're doing is with these framework photos, this is market research. Instead of trying to come up with our own subjective opinion, like, well, I think this is the best hook that will catch people's attention, we're fishers of men. So it doesn't really matter what we think, doesn't matter what I think, doesn't matter what you think, it matters what the audience think. The market determines what they like or what they respond well to and what changes their life. So the key is to get them out as fast as we possibly can. In this game, speed and execution is the name of the game. The faster we get them out, the more research and feedback we can get from our audience. So that's why we need to be producing these at scale as fast as we can and getting more feedback and awareness from the people that we're speaking to. So in this process, as we test it, we see that then we go out and then we actually look and we see some of them work, some of them don't. And we see like this one, this framework photo has 21,000. This one has 16,000, so that didn't perform as well. This one, let me try to find some that doesn't work very good. Oh, these all have quite a bit of... okay, so far the one that's been the lowest is 10,000. So this one looks like people didn't resonate as much with this as compared to like some of the other framework photos. Oh, there we go. This is a Carousel photo. So when you actually click this, it says 4 self-care tips. And you click this is a Carousel. So he's teaching a framework in 4 self-care tips you need right now as you change your life and the world. So he's like sleep, nutrition, move and stretch your body, quiet time. And then what's your sell? So then he has an offer. Now this is the hook story offer. This is the appeal. This is the call to action. This is what you want them to do. So what is your best self-care tip? And then the offer. Usually the photo would be represented in the micro blog that he posted here, and then he gets the engagement from all of these hundreds of commenters that respond with answering this question. That's the ideal. You want people to engage. But you can see that one didn't perform very well. So what he realizes as a teacher, as an educator in this information world, he realizes 4 self-care tips. It's probably not a very good hook. He realizes, well, maybe I'm not going to use that again. Instead of saying self-care tips, I'm going to say for, I don't know, personal development tips, or for, he's just going to come up with a different hook. Some hook. So he tested it. That's good. That was a success, because when it bombed and when it failed, then he knows to rewrite, to tweak the hook until it's catchy. And then once he keeps testing it, then finally the hook grabs on, people pay attention, and then he's checking to see, well, does the framework work? And then when you find something that works really well, you're like, oh, I want to use this. I'm going to do this. So this one, let's see, there's one with 21,000. I think that was the biggest one that I saw. Oh, that's quite, that one has 37,000. Let's go with this one. So this says, it says 6 ways to be happier. This is a framework photo, and then it's very interesting. He's like, focus on the things you're grateful for, meditate. Now, when I read that, I don't think about the meditation that a lot of times they're thinking. Just the key is as you're data mining and you're researching, you're remixing successful content creators. You want to go outside of our niche of like the Bible missionary ministry type niche, because when you do that, that's how innovation comes, and you could remix their ideas. We wouldn't really want to say the same thing. We'll remix their framework, the format, and when we're able to apply that in our niche, then people in our like ministry, evangelism, teaching, gospel soldier type niche, then people are like, whoa, where does that come from? Like, I've never seen anything like that. This is the only ministry that's doing that. And so you're having a novelty just by taking a already proven to be successful post concept, and you're applying it to our niche. So there's not a lot of ministries that I'm aware of that are using framework photos, if really any at all. But when we do, that's why even the framework photo is a niche concept that I learned from Russell Brunson. And he was explaining how Tom Bilyeu uses these framework photos to test, because he also has a monthly subscription program. He writes courses, and he teaches at seminars and events and conferences. So the key here is you test it to see what works. What do people really resonate with? And you see this one performed well, 22,000 likes nearly. Then you come to the conclusion, wow, that worked really well. So I'm going to do that again, or I'm going to enlarge upon this. So this is a really good way to, one, test presentations that I'm thinking about doing. It's a way of testing presentations that we've done to see if people like those, and we realize, oh, we need to tweak things here or there depending on what resonated with them and what they respond to. And it's important to listen to their feedback, and we listen to their comments, and we see what was it that stood out to them, and then we do more of what works and do less of what doesn't work. It's all about pivoting, it's all about testing, it's all about tweaking. So the purpose of these frameworks, the biggest purpose, is to test and tweak the hooks, and testing and tweaking the frameworks. We're getting market research for every photo that we are posting. This is one of the biggest reasons why we are sharing with people. And because if we are in this space, if we are here using our talents because we want to change people's lives and we want to make a difference in their experience, wouldn't you think that it would be good to use what works? And how would you know what works if you didn't ask the people who you're seeking to bless and help? And how do you ask them? By posting a whole bunch of content and getting it out there. The faster we get it out there, the sooner that we'll get feedback. The way that social media works is you really can't flood it. There's so much content out there that there's just not enough. The supply and demand is just so high that the way to break through the noise is producing more content. And what's nice is the stuff that bombs and it doesn't work, well, less people see it. And no harm, no foul. So that's what we're doing when we're testing these frameworks. So one thing that I want to stress and I want to emphasize is that we want to take the frameworks out of our monthly live casts. I wouldn't recommend, like at this point when we first started, we were trying to do it out of like daily live video summaries, which I was testing hooks and frameworks in those daily live videos, but also we use it for maybe like some sermon outlines, or there's a whole bunch of different places that we can grab frameworks from. But now we're narrowing our focus and we're just using the live cast that we're doing. And as you see, we're not limited to just the 4 teaching points of the live cast, but there are frameworks within the frameworks that we want to stretch our mind and to grasp, like dig and find where are those frameworks within the frameworks. And we are repurposing. If we've chosen a topic, that's because that's a topic that we want to intentionally develop and use multiple times throughout the vision of the Army of Youth plan, because we're always thinking like 5 years, 10 years in advance of where we're going and what we're building. And the monthly livecast trainings is extremely intentional in the direction of how we're helping people to learn and grow. So this is what we want to focus our effort and attention on, the Direction from God program and the different frameworks that we do there. And then our goal is to just create several of these. Now, that way we have them tested so that when we share on the big stage or at camp meetings or on conferences or in more places with larger audiences, we're not just sharing, we're not testing our material on these large places. We've already taken what has proven to work, proven to transform lives, proven to be a catchy curiosity, interest, like attention grabbing hook, and proven to bring people results. And that's the only thing that we are sharing is tried and proven, tested material. And that's the purpose of the framework photo vision. So this is what we're doing. And then one thing that I want to elaborate or explain or clarify is the difference between a framework photo and these framework carousels. So here is this is what a framework photo looks like, this is what a framework photo looks like, and this is what a framework photo looks like. This is not a framework photo. This is a framework carousel. So when you have a carousel, like these are good, these are a blessing and they're great, and we want variety of content that we can create a system for and mass produce at scale, but it still gives them a variety of things. But this is not a framework photo. This takes a framework, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and it puts it into a series of photos. But this is called a carousel, both on Instagram and Facebook. Like for instance, what I showed you earlier, this is a carousel. You can see by that little icon. This is a framework photo. This is a framework photo, and that's a framework photo. But this is not a framework photo. This is a framework carousel. And these are a blessing and they're good too. But these do not replace framework photos. The nice thing about this is they're very quick. You can get them done. You can post them. You can get feedback. You can understand. And just in one synopsis, you can gather all of their attention. You could get their feedback and see what how things work. And you can post several of these without spending as much time in there. But they're both good. They have their place. And I think it's a great idea that we use them both. But I still believe that it's an important idea, or it's important to differentiate between the two. And notice that these are two different types of content, very, very similar, but they're not the same. And honestly, maybe a way to go about this is you take this framework photo and you post that first and you see which ones perform well, and out of the ones that people really like, then we can take those and then repurpose them over here. We could just test them out and see what people tend to appreciate, what they like. I don't know, that was just throwing out an idea, but we could pray about it. So that's basically the difference between framework photo and the framework carousel. Now, so I've shared with you the hook, what we're going to learn, and then the story, and then this is the content that we went through. Now I'm going to share with you the offer. So my appeal to you, my offer, my call to action, what I really would urge you to do is if you're watching this, I want to say thank you for using your talents for Christ's service. And it is such a privilege and a joy to be able to co-labor together. Praise the Lord. I'm excited by what the team has been creating, and I see that like we're just improving more and more as you go. You could just see things getting better and better, and it's so encouraging. And I'm excited to see where we continue to go. So if you're watching this, chances are you have something to do with the framework photos. So my appeal to you is if you're creating framework photos or helping with those, please subscribe to and follow other influencers outside of the niche of ministry, evangelism, teaching, preaching, stuff like that, because those are going to be narrowed where we're just going to rehashing the same old ideas within the same industry. But go look for, like, you can learn from car dealerships if they got framework photos. They probably won't, but you can learn concepts from car dealership Instagram accounts with millions of subscribers, and you can see what are they doing well and remix some of those ideas. Innovation comes from taking something very successful and then remixing it with our own niche, our own message, our own platform, and then it makes a tremendous impact and change that we can bring. We're not using their message, their watchwords, their terminology, their concepts. We're just taking the structure and the format that has proven to be successful on these different social platforms, and we're applying them for what we're doing. So the reason why I say that is because there are different ways to create a framework photo that would be well for us to experiment with. And you can see here, Tom Bilyeu, he's got millions of, like, what I would recommend is if the person doesn't have like a million followers or like 500,000 or above, or like 800,000 followers or above, then that's not really the account that we're trying to remix. We want to find accounts that have momentum, that have followings, that have actually put in the time and the effort to understand these platforms, and not following people that have like 3,000 or even 30,000 or 70,000 followers. That's not really the amount of audience community that they've been able to build is a symbol or representation of how well they understand the 7 principles of building community, and how well they understand marketing, social media influence, how well they understand how to teach these things. So ideally, people that are in a very similar niche as we are, as far as like the business model or the ministry model of how we are communicating the truths to the world. And so Tom Bilyeu, it's not that I like his message, but he has a he meets a criteria. He's got millions of followers. He is in the same, he's got courses, which we have. He's got the coaching program every month that we have. He's got live events he speaks at that we're doing, and he teaches frameworks, and he's going out there. So that's very similar. And then Lewis Howe is another good one. And then Brendan no, not so much him. I don't see him having too many frameworks. I think there was other people, but I know he does them quite a bit. So anyways, when you post them, you can see that some have a black background, some have this nice like textured white background. That's kind of interesting. And then one thing that we could do here is, even though like this would be pretty simple if we just took a photo and we got a whiteboard there, and if we could like digitally find some like nice like handwriting type note here, instead of like using, well, I'll say in addition to using the stock public domains unsplash type photos that give you these white pictures and you can post whatever you want, we can have photographers on our team creating things like photos on desk or something, or we can get one of our local photographers to be able to record me holding a whiteboard that's blank, and then we could put what we want with our graphic design afterwards. So we just create several photos, do a photo shoot of a whole bunch of different whiteboard scenes. That we could do things like that, because a whiteboard seems to work out pretty well and get people's attention, or even just a page or something. But things like that people really respond well to and they pay attention to. And then this, I thought this was kind of cool. This was, you can see he had a question. So this is kind of like a Bible reading. Like, here's the hook. How can I overcome negative thought patterns? And then here's a story. Like 1, 2, 3. So 3 steps. And then here's the offer. Text me on tips how to successfully deal with conflicts of life. So he's like, this person asked a question, here's the hook, here's the story, and here's the offer. This is the appeal. Text me if you want your questions answered too. So you see the hook, story, offer, and everything that you do, really commit. I encourage you to commit to mastering the hook, story, and offer of every single piece of content, everything that you do. Think about it, be intentional, commit to learning and studying these things. And as you pay attention, when you watch this, you want to look for, not model the exact words, not copy the words, but you could just see like that headline. Look at that headline. That's catchy. You could see things that work well than others, and the different color differentiations. That helps. This one has some big old numbers right here. You could see how a lot of times, one thing I noticed in looking at these is that they would have oh, that one's really good. Look at that. It says fight for your health, or I can bring it up. It says fight for your health, fight for your family. So it's just things to fight for, and then it just has a little like words, like bold words that are the differentiators. So the template, the structure that we can see, the pattern we can identify, because as leaders identify patterns. Leaders are masters at utilizing patterns and using them in all these different areas, but you look for patterns at work, and then you just do that and apply it to what you're doing in life. It makes every other area of your life improved. So he has the hook, and then he has just the structures of basic things that are the same, but then the things that are different is boom, right there. So that's really powerful. And then I'm trying to find something that was similar. And this is kind of like a listicle, like 15 habits that drain your energy. That's not necessarily a framework, but that's a listicle. That's what they're called. It's like an article that's a list, and but as we go through them, we'll be able to find some structures that kind of work. And this is interesting because he's talking about why you should take cold showers, and he's got emojis at the top. Instagram loves emojis, so keep that in mind. You could see that consistently. Anyways, I hope that this helps you. So there's my hook, there's my story, there's my offer. I really encourage you. Hopefully this helps you to understand more about the vision of the framework photos, and explains kind of like what they are, why they matter, how we use them. I believe that you knowing why we're using hooks for testing and tweaking, why we're using frameworks for getting market feedback and testing our hooks, testing our frameworks, and then listening to the market, then we're tweaking those things of the hooks and the frameworks. That will help you to know how you're designing them and why you're designing them. And so it helps you to be intentional and recognizing that it's the live cast that we want to like super focus, hyper focus our attention on the live cast trainings that we do every month, because there's intentionally why we will use these things, and it'll have the greatest likelihood that we will reuse the photos that you create, especially the ones that take off well in social media. And the difference between the framework photos, which is one thing, and the framework Carousel, which is several of them, a series of them. And then my appeal to you is go follow people who are creating content like this and others, and then see what's successful for theirs. Look at their following, look at their average, and see which ones really take off, and try to ask the question, why was it successful? What made that work? There are traits of virality, and when you study what makes contagious content, then we'll be able to interject that into everything that we do and win more souls for Jesus. Thanks again for watching, and I pray that this was a blessing for you.